Hey, black women. Hey, you're at work and you're alone in a room. Who would you rather walk in right now? You don't know what it is, a white man or a white woman.
Hey ladies, welcome back to my channel. It's your host London Lamborghini. And ladies, if you're alone in the woods, would you rather be left alone with a man or a bear? Okay, cool. But black women, if you're alone in the office, would you be rather left alone with a white man or a white woman? Don't think too hard, just go with your gut instinct. In today's video, we are going to see what TikTok had to say about this question from white women and black women. Let's get into that video.
Hey, white women. I know y'all are getting real excited about the man versus bear conversation. I get it. But I just want us to sit in our hut of humility real quick and know that this is the same thing, same-ish thing as me asking, hey, black women. Hey, you're at work and you're alone in a room. Who would you rather walk in right now? You don't know what it is, a white man or a white woman. You're in a conference room alone. You have to be with one or the other. Which one is it gonna be? Now, be careful how you feel about this, because how did man feel when we picked bear, okay? All right, women, I just want us all to just be in our proper placement. I love the conversation. I just, you know what I'm here for. That's it. Asking, hey, black women. Hey, you're at work.
The creator is talking about giving the scenario to black women. Would you rather be in a conference room with a white woman or a white man? And a lot of the consensus is that we would rather be in a room with a white man. And it's because, white men are more blatant, just like racism in the South is like less tricky than racism in the North. It's still racism. And so for me, I worked in fashion for 12 years. I went to school with all white women. In college, and I grew up in an all black neighborhood, so that was a huge culture shock. But I will say that I agree. And I have best friends that are white. I have, coworkers that I learned so much from, so many people who I very deeply and intimately appreciate. However, there are so many, even the most people with the well intentions have so many blind spots. And I just think I had to come to the conclusion that I just don't trust white women unless they earn my trust. And I feel like I'm the opposite with black women. And most people, I'm a very trusting person. Maybe that's my naivete. Maybe that's my ADHD. But with white women, there's always a bit of and when I look back at my career and who has fucked with me the most, it could just be proximity, but it's white women or it's people who align with whiteness. My first boss, but it was a different time. I forgive her, I guess. I don't know. But yeah. So
one of my favorite creators on this app, White Women Whisper, posed a sub-question to the man versus bear question, which was, black women, you are alone in a conference room. Who do you want to walk in? A white man or a white woman? And the answer overwhelmingly has been white man. And there are a lot of white women in the comments angry, vitriolic, that she dared pose this question, that the answer dare be men instead of women, because we want to think of ourselves as better, right? I just want to ask you, I want to invite you to this. If you are mad about that question, if you are feeling vitriolic about people saying that white women are doing as much harm as white men, where do you feel that in your body? Where is that coming up for you? If you are angry about this, if you are feeling powerful emotions about that, where are you feeling that? Because that is where you are holding misogyny and racism in your body. And deconstruction is not just a matter of the mind, it's a matter of processing it in your body. That's an invitation to learn about yourself. Black women, you are alone in a conference room. Who do you want to walk in? A white man or a white?
I really appreciate this creator for making this video for a lot of different reasons, and acknowledging how I've been feeling for quite some time as someone who escaped a toxic workplace that was due to bullying by white women in corporate America. And ironically enough, one of the best bosses I've ever had in my life was a white man in corporate America. I've had great white women too, but like more often than not really. With that said, I've been doing a lot of thinking as to why I think white men and Black women, not only in dating, make great couples, but also with white men being like their leader, their boss, their team lead. Why it's not as toxic as white women. And hear me out, but I think it's because white men just simply know their place in society is always going to be number one. They know that they're always going to get the job over anyone else. They know that they're always going to be seen as like the ideal candidate, the ideal working person, no matter what. And I've been thinking that simply like the existence of a Black woman on their team, even if she's a gunner, even if she's going after everything, is never going to threaten him. Like, he's non-threatened, meaning that he can give away every resource from mentorship to sponsorship to accolades, and he's still going to be ahead of her, which is why he's able to give those things without feeling like it's ever going to take away from him. And specifically, I think white women, or we've also, Black women, have had horror stories with other Black women, is that it feels like the person who is our leader, who's supposed to uplift us and give us access and mentorship and sponsorship, again, when they're doing it, I feel like they feel like it's taking away from their career or their essence. So they hold those opportunities back. They hold the praise back. They hold the promotions back. They hold the role changes back because they want it for themselves. And I feel like white men don't do that because they don't have to do it, because they will always get it. Even if they give that one opportunity to the next Black girl, they know that their next opportunity is going to be equal and likely better just because of their position in society. And I think we should like really explore this a little bit more about who we're working for and what they're going to be able to offer us. Because like for me right now, as someone who is like transitioning careers, I'm specifically looking for a team lead or a mentor who's going to be able to open up doors for me. And if that's not something that you can do, I don't really want to work for you.
So there was a really interesting video made by White Woman Whisperer. I tried to stitch it and the audio didn't record, so I'm going to try to record it again here. I'll tag her below because you should go watch her video. But she basically poses the question, or opens up this discussion, this bear versus man discussion, to Black women in asking, okay, if you're in an office, who would you rather walk in, a white man or a white woman? And she said that the collective answer would be a white man. And a lot of women are getting offended, a lot of white women are getting offended because they're like, oh my gosh, what a man could do to you is so much worse than a woman. Like, this is divisive. But like, you're not getting it. The reason why Black women would choose a white man over a white woman is for the same reason that women as a collective, especially white women, would choose the bear over the man. It is the danger you know versus the danger you don't. And like historically, the under the surface racism that white women have for Black women has caused death and destruction and is absolutely a humongous danger. Because Black women know, like in our society, that a white woman's accounting of things will always be taken more seriously than a Black woman's. So she has to have like a distance because of personal safety. Now, I've seen this play out in my real life. I live in the South. I go to a lot of like influencer functions with like large groups of people, and I can see the difference between women of color who know me and women of color who don't, and how they interact with me and like the guard that they have up. And that's not offensive to me because it's common sense. I absolutely expect them to be apprehensive of a white woman in the South because they don't know what they're getting. But just as the whole point of the bear versus man conversation is to make men understand that women are innately apprehensive and cautious around all men, the question that White Woman Whisperer was posing is to make white women understand the cautiousness that Black women have around white women. That sort of like being scared of me before I give them a reason not to is not offensive to me, because it is absolutely my responsibility to prove to these women that I am a safe person, not the other way around. You cannot like bully someone into trusting you with their personal safety. And that's a lesson for the men on the bear conversation too.
Okay, so despite how uncomfortable a lot of white women are in this conversation being had on TikTok right now, I think it is such a critical conversation to have, and I really encourage white women to just listen, reflect, because I think we're getting to something very, very important here. So if it has not came across your For You page, in the same manner the man versus bear conversation is being had, and we saw how a lot of men have like just been shocked and surprised and defensive when a lot of women are choosing the bear. There is a creator, the White Woman Whisperer, posed a similar question to black women and asked black women, if you walked into an empty conference room, would you rather it be a white man in the room or a white woman? And there are a lot of white women shook in their boots to find out that black women are overwhelming response has been, I'd rather be in the room with a white man. So when the first question was posed to me, I'm with my fellow black women. My immediate response is, I'd rather be in a conference room with a white man. But I want to kind of like dig deeper and to explore why this is, because there's a lot of layers to this. So a few years ago, I remember my sister sent me a video from a creator who talks about how there's fundamental differences between how black women and white women view or basically have access to internal power. And if y'all know the creator I'm talking about, please tag below, because it's been years since I've seen the video. Basically, the creator was talking about how historically white women, not having as many rights as their white male counterparts, they had to wield power through the men in their lives historically. So power never really came from them; it came from the men or other people where they can gather power from. On the other hand, black women, who a lot of historically our men have been denied or limited in our lives, think of just the historical nature of like slavery and the prison system and all of the horrible institutionalized racism that affects black men's presence within our household, that has left a lot of black women to wield power from ourselves, because who else we're going to wield it from? And I see this so much, like my great-grandma, my grandma, my mom, my aunts. It's like this whole idea, it's like, you don't need a man, like you're independent, like you can do it on your own, like being educated, like this fact that like it's on us to advocate for ourselves. That is something that has been downloaded in my head since I was a kid, and a lot of black women can relate to that. So when you think of these two different views of internal power in the workplace, you can kind of see how they're at odds. And as a black woman in corporate America, I see this on a day-to-day basis, and it is so frustrating. And I just want to give a few examples on how this manifests. Me exercising my own internal power of advocating for myself, speaking up, not relying on someone else to make something happen for myself, is always going to come off as me doing too much, me being defensive, me being that assertive, aggressive black woman, not the docile, quiet persona that a lot of white women have adopted. And the crazy thing is, a lot of black women can, and I've personally felt this way, manipulated in some ways, because our voice and our mouthpiece and our self-advocacy, other people want to tap into that so we can use it for them, but it's never reciprocated. So this idea of like allyship and support is never mutual. And it's kind of crazy, and I know we all joke about like the audacity of white men, but it's like there's something to be said about just their inherent internal power. You're a white man, you feel like you have self-power. And I'm not saying that, knowing that that is probably causing the reason why a lot of white women act the way they do historically, it still has made this dynamic where a lot of black women feel more comfortable and not feeling as defensive and like around white men versus white women. And let us not talk about emotions, because a lot of white women use their emotions, their tears, their feelings, they weaponize it to influence and manipulate other people, to discredit black women. And in the workplace, it is just so fucking frustrating. So from my personal experience, yes, I've had bad work experiences with white men, but I feel like there's a level of respect, mutual respect, because there's a more aligned view of internal power that can come from that dynamic that just doesn't exist for white women.
White women, have you heard this question being asked by black women? Would they rather be in a boardroom with a white man or a white woman? And they're choosing white man. The creators, Portia, White Woman Whisperer, and a few more have been having this discussion, and it's been kind of controversial. One of their pages, actually, maybe a couple, have gotten demonetized and taken down as a result. But as I'm thinking about it, something really hit me. One of the creators had a video about how white women's tears are dangerous. And this is because, in their point of view and in their explanation, when a white woman cries, it can activate the violence of white men. I've been processing this a lot. As I've been processing it, I remembered and thought about the story of Emmett Till. And when I have heard that story, out of all the people involved, out of all the violence and all the horror, there's one person that has always made my blood run cold, and that is the woman who lied about Emmett. The white woman who claimed that she was in danger or that she was offended or whatever by Emmett. Maybe it's because the violence of the men didn't surprise me or has happened a lot, and the deception of this woman did surprise me and did seem so insidious and so dangerous and so scary. She broke this norm that I feel like we all have, this underlying value of protecting a child. She broke that in order to call into action the violence of her partner. Whether she was trying to make him jealous or whatever the theories are. I mean, there's a lot of theories about why she would have done it. Maybe she felt unsafe from him as well. Whatever it was, that has always been the scariest part of that story for me, and the most disgusting part of that story, and the most surreal, just chilling part of that story. So then, in a very small way, it makes sense now. That is scarier. That thought of a woman betraying that trust is scarier to me as well. Maybe that's a tiny part of what they're feeling. And so I guess what I'm just saying is processing this, thinking about it, and realizing that I have the same reaction in some small way can help it make sense and not be offensive. Like, these lessons come little by little. For me, they have, at least. In grad school, I had a similar lesson where there were 2 black women in our cohort, in all of our classes. And we had a racism and social justice and cultural class. And one of these women had to actually say, I do not want to be the poster child for my race. I do not want to be the spokesperson. It's too much work. It's too exhausting. And just hearing that was the first time I had heard that concept. And it made sense to me as a religious minority. I also didn't want to be the voice for my religion, you know? And so being able to put it in perspective and not, I guess, just think it through and think, what can I take from this? And how can I learn a lesson from this and be less of a burden on other people and be more of a true advocate and ally, not just in word, has been a growth process for a long time for me. So this is just a new step on that. Hopefully that they have this totally different experience that I will never have, that I can choose to understand at least choose to digest and make sense of, even if it doesn't resonate right away. Letting it just kind of sit and bounce around in my head has really helped me bring more understanding to it. Letting it just kind of simmer as I listen to more information and not react right away with emotion has been helpful for me. And just taking the time to believe them that this is actually their take on it, they're not just trying to be mean to us, is super important.
Thank you for staying until the end of the video. Now I'm going to share my thoughts. As many of you know, I've never actually had a corporate job before. I have my own path, my own evolution, my own spiritual journey, and that is the reason as to why I've never had a job yet so far at this point in my life. You are talking to a person who, even though I had a 70% unattendance rate during high school, I still graduated early. So I have my own path in life that is highly unconventional. So even though I've never had a corporate job before, the only reason I'm able to participate and have an opinion on this topic is because for many months I had been studying Julia Cha. Now, Julia Cha is a business coach and a female coach that teaches about the 3 hierarchical systems that pervade global society. That is capitalism, patriarchy, and racism. Religion used to be roped in there, but religion is swiftly fading out. So we are currently left with capitalism, patriarchy, and racism. These are all pyramid schemes, the pyramid schemes that run society. I suggest you go look into her work. It's very insightful and it's very beneficial to understanding how society operates, the games that are played, and how to benefit. Now, I can't go into too much detail because I don't have a whiteboard and I'm not on video, but I'm going to briefly give the gist of it. So under the capitalistic triangle, the people at the bottom are competing for economic resources and access, money. Under the patriarchal triangle, women are competing for male attention and validation. And under the racial hierarchy, the people at the bottom are competing for proximity to whiteness. So if we assess the intersectionality of different people's identities in the workplace with regards to a black woman, a white woman, and a white man, the black woman and the white woman have extra layers of competition added due to the fact of their gender. Because they are both women under our patriarchal system, they are in competition with each other from the get-go. There is no competition that exists between a black woman and a white man because they are different genders. So that competition is not underlying and is non-existent. The foundational competition that underlies everyone in the workplace is competition for economic resources, access to promotions, visibility, and opportunities. So everyone is competing for money. But on top of that, there's an extra layer between the white woman and the black woman because of their gender. They are competing for male attention and validation because they are both women, and thus there is added friction, added tension, jealousy, vitriol, combativeness, rivalry that exists. Where that does not exist between a white man and a black woman because they are not competing under the patriarchy based on gender. So I'm so thankful that I've never had to experience this. I have had many part-time jobs before. However, during these part-time jobs, they were all white minority environments. There was maybe like one white person, probably 0 white people in those work environments. So I've never had to experience this on a first-hand basis. But I am exceedingly grateful and exceedingly thankful that should I ever encounter such a work environment and such work conditions, that I will be and thoroughly prepared to deal with, handle, and navigate whatever kind of competitive Hunger Games type behaviors should present themselves from white women, white men, people of color, other races, simply because I am aware of the 3 hierarchical triangles that underpin all of society. Thank you for staying until the end of the video. Now I want to know what you think. Leave me all your personal stories in the comments. I love reading through your comments every time. And thank you so much to all the new subscribers. We just passed 2K and I could not have done it without all of you. Thank you so much. Join me tomorrow for the next video. And until then, stay pretty, ladies.